Alright guys, I'm going to explain a little bit about Annihilation. Now if you don't know anything about it, this video will cover everything from the basics to the end, and if you're just looking for some tips, then you might as well watch the whole video because I might cover some of that early on, but I'm going to save all my personal tips and stuff for the end. I have a couple strategies and stuff. But if you're just looking for the server, I recommend using us.shotbow.net. I don't know if this is the only server that has Annihilation, but it's the one that I've been using, and it's a big deal on this one. So I'll be playing it here, and I'll probably only play it here while it lags and loads everything. So let me explain a little bit about the server itself before I, jump into Annihilation. Shotbow servers are great. They have MineZ, they have the SB games, Shotbow games, and it's a spin-off of the Hunger Games that I also do a bit of on my channel. It has its own kits. It doesn't steal the kits directly from, MCPvP. It's got Civcraft, Ghostcraft. You got Wasted over there. I have not actually played that. HC Factions. I think the HC is for hardcore. So you die and then you have to wait a couple days before you can log back in. It's interesting. I think I only played it once. Death by Void is actually a really unique parkour minigame. And then Smash is not quite the Smash Brothers that you might think of at first, but it's actually a pretty fun game mode, and it's worth a shot if you're just kind of, bored and looking for something to do in Minecraft. So here we go. Let's get into Annihilation. So over here, the big A for Annihilation. It's a little laggy here. It's a lot less laggy when you're actually in-game. Now you have all these signs, and you're going to want to right-click a sign that's either in Phase 1, possibly Phase 2. I'm not quite sure if you can get it. It says until Phase 2, so maybe not. Or new round starts in however much time. This one only has 31 people, so might as well join this one, right? Here we go. You got a little welcome book. It doesn't say anything useful yet, but maybe by the time you start playing, it will be updated. And you can right-click to choose a class. You need, okay, here we go. Kill 100 players with a bow, deal 500 damage to enemy nexuses, or you can buy them with, XP on the actual shotbow.net. They cost quite a bit, so I don't quite think you're going to be able to have much luck getting the kits without, spending a little bit of money on their site, donating a little bit. But if you really want one of these kits, it's probably only $1 or something, so it's probably not too bad. But here we go. So win 5 matches, you get the warrior. 25, you get the healer. Looks like you mine up 1500 ore, you get the miner. But you always start with a civilian. So what this kit does is it's going to give you a crafting table, and then the wooden tools of the pickaxe, the normal axe, and a sword. And it also gives you a compass, which points to a nexus. I think it starts off at yours, and you might be able to change where it points to, but I always just have it pointing at mine because it's not that hard to find the enemy nexus. Now, I'm going to skip until we get into the game, and then I'll talk a little bit more then. Alright, so you land in your town, and you look around, I'm on green team, so there's green wool everywhere. But you see one little tower, right? Not a little tower, but a pretty big tower right in the corner of the map, and it has, 2 nether portals out front. If you run down the stairs, this is probably the most important place in the entire map, You got a piece of endstone, and that is your nexus. Each nexus starts with 75 HP. You take your pickaxe, you hit that, and, well, not your own. I would not try that, but you hit the enemy nexus, and that's what does damage. 1 at a time until later in the game. I'll explain that a bit. Now, you also have soulbound items, which sometimes you can't move from their starting spots, and then sometimes you can. I don't know the rule for that, but generally, I just ignore them, use them for whatever I need to, and then once I get better tools, I just chuck them. If you press Q, you can actually destroy the tools, when you have them selected. So if you can't move them for some reason and you want them to not be in that slot, just destroy them. Now, the next big thing is that in your town, you have, some chests, crafting tables, the usual. And then, boom, melon farm. The only way to break the melons is to use your sword, because this is in adventure mode, I'm pretty sure. Which means that you can only destroy blocks if you have their respective tool. So melons and cobwebs need your sword. You're gonna want to use, your axe on wood. Everything that comes naturally to you is what you have to do. But the only difference from normal Minecraft is that you can't break those blocks unless you're using those specific tools. Now, another cool thing about Annihilation that's a little bit different is that when you break, like resources in general, they regenerate. So the wood right there, I broke it, and then after a couple seconds, it came back. Stone does not, replenish, I guess. It doesn't come back naturally. But iron, coal, redstone, gold, those all come back after a couple seconds. If you ever played RuneScape, it's very, very similar. You have everyone just kind of crowding around rocks that spawn in a certain spot, and then they break the rock, and then it just keeps respawning over and over again, and then eventually they have enough of that one rock, their inventory's full or whatever. In this case, you get 29 iron, and then you're done, and then you leave. You go to the bank, and then you're good. However, in Minecraft, you're not going to the bank to deposit your inventory. You're getting 29 iron so you can make a full set of armor, which requires 24, a sword that requires 2, and the pickaxe that requires 3. Now, in Hunger Games, you really don't make an iron pickaxe because you don't need one, but there are diamonds in this map, which I'll explain a little bit later, once I get onto a different subject regarding phases. And on top of that, you want the best pickaxe you can get, because you want to be breaking the enemy's nexus as many times as you can. Just like all the resources, that piece of endstone doesn't just break. It breaks and then instantly comes back. If you can break it 75 times without the other team coming to kill you, you win the game. That's just how it works. So if you have a diamond pickaxe with efficiency 730, you're good. You probably aren't gonna have that pickaxe, though. That doesn't really happen. But you could get a pretty good pickaxe, killing people, getting experience, running to that enchanting table down in the basement, and then making the best tools you can get. The next point I want to make is that on the right side of the screen, you can see that it says a couple of things. Obviously, the first one is how far you are from the nexus, and that's measured in blocks, I believe. That makes sense, it's Minecraft. Then you have a whole bunch of colors that are followed by the word nexus, and and right next to that it says 75. That's the HP of each team's nexus. Once their nexus hits 0, or negative if you do more than 1 damage when it's at 1 health, then their nexus after a couple seconds will get removed from the list on the right, and then that team, if they die, instead of respawning back at their little home camp, they don't respawn. They, get sent back to the little lobby, the, waiting room area, and then you usually just disconnect and reconnect to the server so you get put back and you can join another match or whatever. However, there's one other little thing on the right menu, and that's phase. You start in phase 1, as you might expect, and during that phase, no nexus can be harmed. You can't do any damage. Even if you go up and break it, it's not going to do anything. In phase 2, the nexuses lose their invulnerability, if nexuses is even a word. And during phase 2, that's usually when you see a couple of people just running over and trying to do a little bit of damage, just because they can. Because of this, and the fact that phase 1 gives you invulnerability on your nexus, it's a really good idea to get as much stuff as you can in phase 1, just, full iron if you can. And then spend phase 2, just setting in your first, little battalion of people and seeing if you can eliminate a whole base at once. If you can, then great. If you can get something that early before they can build up, you're in a really good spot. But you don't want to send everyone, because if someone else has that idea and you have no defense, then you're dead. Now, phase 3, diamonds start spawning in the middle of the map. There's a little area there, and diamond ore will spawn around, and if you have an iron pick, or if you cheated in a diamond pick, I don't know, you can go break the diamonds, get as many as you want, and This area during Phase 3 and on becomes a really, really important area. If your team is not in control of the middle, you want to get control of the middle, or kill whatever team is currently controlling it, because if they have 8 people mining diamonds, then that's 8 less people on defense. But if you have, 3 or 4 people that are getting diamonds, getting really strong, and then bringing some back, your team's in a really good spot. Phase 4 is nothing as far as I know, and then Phase 5, you do 2 damage to the Nexus every time you break it, instead of 1. One last note about phases is that during Phase 3, I believe, Iron Golems spawn. There's these 2, like, bridges that go between 2 of the bases. You basically have 2 exits out of your base. You have the bridge exit, and then the completely open water exit. And the bridge exit has Iron Golems during Phase 3 and on. And another little rule that I have to go over is just, and again, I'm not completely sure of this one, but only certain blocks can be placed. I have had no luck placing cobblestone, but most items made out of wood, such as, just the wooden planks, doors, pressure plates of that kind, those seem to be placeable easily enough. Of course, there's certain areas that are protected from, like with the grief block, so your Nexus Tower, you can't break blocks in there, you can't place blocks in there, but you can build like wooden bridges and stuff to get across the water easier. Again, I'm not completely sure of which blocks can and cannot be placed, but if you have a whole bunch of blocks, go ahead and experiment. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? I think every item with a function that's placeable can be placed, so, just like brewing stands, cauldrons, things like that, I'm sure all of those can be placed, no problem. Now, if you mine up some gold, smelt it down, and then take it to some of the shops in town, there's signs around that you can just right-click. You can spend that gold on different items, and the brewing shop actually lets you make potions, the most popular being the invisibility potion. At the beginning I said I'd give some tips and tricks, and if I had to pick 3 to say, I would say get as much iron as you can early, and definitely use your iron advantage as early as possible. If you have full iron at 2 minutes somehow, go over to an enemy side and just kill some people, but try not to give it up. You don't want the enemies having all that stuff right off the get-go. Next, I would say build some sort of path to the enemy's base. If it's a sky bridge made out of wooden planks that spans from one of your towers to their towers, that's great. It really does work, and it's easy to repair if you have plenty of wooden planks. Unless the enemy, sets the whole thing on fire, and I don't even know if you can do that. I haven't seen it yet, at the very least. Another really good one that you can do is to go underground and dig, like underneath the river and everything, and just go. And it takes a little longer, but it's pretty unpredictable, and it's a lot harder to spot if you hold shift the whole time. Whereas with the sky bridge, anyone with far render distance is going to pick it off in a second. The best thing about the sky bridge early on is that the enemy won't have any defense. Well, they might have a little bit, but it won't be nearly as bad as it will be late game. So you can get right into their base because, they're not going to expect you from the sky at the 7-minute mark. And boom, you get a couple hits off on their Nexus for free. My third and final tip would be to get control of that middle area of the map as close to the beginning of Phase 3 as possible. If you have diamonds early, you're going to be strong. If your whole team has diamonds late, you're going to win the whole match, as long as, you don't play a really stupid game. All you have to do is just get control of the middle, get a lot of diamonds, and then just go on the offensive and win the whole match. I really hope you've enjoyed my video on Minecraft Annihilation. If you learned anything new, it couldn't possibly hurt to leave a like. It helps me out, and it would encourage me to do more videos on Annihilation in the future, focusing more on the gameplay instead of just, tutorials and tips. If you have any questions or noticed anything I left out, drop a comment. I'm usually pretty good at responding to any questions. Thanks again for watching, and I really encourage you to go and try out Minecraft Annihilation.